Okay, so here's Mike, a married man with 2 kids. He has an average annual income of $100,000 and drives a pickup truck. Mike's hobbies include fishing, camping, golfing, and hunting. He's quite enthusiastic about life and building wealth so he can leave a good legacy for his children. Unfortunately, as of right now, Mike does not have a clue about investment objectives. And clear objectives are a very important part of building wealth. They are used by you and your financial advisors to help determine how your funds could be invested. For example, if an elderly widow with little income wants to invest her life savings, she will primarily be concerned with safety and income. Whereas a young, single lawyer with a healthy income and relatively few financial obligations will likely be more interested in pursuing growth through her investments. There are 4 types of investment objectives: safety, income, growth, and tax savings. And when an investor has more than one investment objective, the success of one may come at the expense of another. Now, for someone like Mike, can you guess which investment objective or objectives would be right for him? Well, let's take a closer look at these objectives. First is the safety of capital. While there is no such thing as an absolutely safe and secure investment, or one that is completely risk-free, if your primary objective is safety, you will look for investments that have a minimal risk level. But then, the safest investments tend to have the lowest rates of return and may not even keep up with inflation. Safe investments include things like government-issued bonds from countries with stable economic environments, high-quality corporate bonds, money market instruments, and securities guaranteed by banks such as GICs. On the other hand, when the primary objective is income, investors sacrifice a degree of safety in order to increase their yields. Even the most conservative of investors like to have some level of income in their portfolio just to keep up with the rate of inflation. Corporate bonds, rather than the less risky government bonds, tend to yield a higher return. They could be high-quality bonds with a lesser risk, or low-quality, known as junk bonds, with greater risk. Dividend income can be another source of income at a slightly higher risk. Growth might be your primary objective. Investors who are growth-oriented are normally less concerned with safety and do not totally depend on income from investment funds. These types of investments in growth instruments are more likely to fluctuate in value and come with a greater risk of loss. Higher risk investments may have greater long-term rewards, but in the meantime, you'll probably see some ups and downs. It is important to be aware and prepared for this in advance. Common stock investments, that shares of publicly traded companies, are usually associated with growth and are generally considered highly speculative. You don't really know. While growth securities offer a considerable opportunity for increase in value, there is also the potential of a greater risk of loss. Blue chip stocks offer relative safety because they are shares of established and mature companies, and their growth is primarily related to the long-term growth of the company. In fact, many blue chip stocks also offer a dividend. While dividend payments are not guaranteed, they do offer investors some form of predictable gains. Income generated by common shares is considered capital gains and is taxed differently. Which brings us to the tax savings category. Taxes on capital gains are significantly lower than taxes on interest income or ordinary income like salary. When the primary objective is tax savings, registered plans such as registered retirement savings plans and tax-free savings accounts are the best bet. However, there are also effective ways to shelter growth from annual taxation in open or non-registered accounts, where the investments used do not generate any tax reporting slips. The most common examples are class structure mutual funds and the investment component of a permanent life insurance policy. When considering your objectives, one thing to keep in mind is that not all investments by the same name have the same characteristics. For example, a bond issued by the Canadian federal government is quite different and much safer than a bond issued by an economically troubled country. Common shares from blue-chip companies are quite different from startup or highly speculative new companies with unproven track records. As an investor, when you hear the word bond, you should not automatically equate it with a high-quality, low-risk investment. And when you hear the word stock, you should not automatically equate it with high risk. There are varying degrees of risk within each classification. Now talking about Mike, a family man with kids, he would definitely be interested in growth so that he can build wealth to provide a secure financial future for his family. And then maybe income, as well as tax savings. But he won't be too concerned about the safety of his capital because he's young and still actively earning.